Good morning, everybody. A happy Easter to you all. It is Easter Sunday and the sun is shining here, and it's time for some stamps to celebrate. And it's a two stamps Sunday day today. So I found two stamps, and when I found them last night, I couldn't make head nor tail of what was going on. Now, most of it was due to bad light, and also my total ignorance of the stamps. Well, mostly that really. So put the two together, and I was struggling. So I thought, you know what? I'll put the AI and I'll put the Google Lens upon them and see what occurs. Well, of course, light comes, light goes. Well, it came back again, and I was able to have a look at the stamps, and I sort of recognised them after. But I thought I'd do a little bit of a talk about them, about the stamps, and about the personalities that they show on the face of the stamp. Okay, so, well, you get the thing. This guy's holding two stamps in his... It looks pretty dangerous to those stamps, but it's meant to be tweezers. Have I got mine? Yes, I have. So mine are here. As you can see, they're not quite like that. Anyway, we'll forgive him on this occasion, and we will bring up the first contestant. Who is it? So we'll have a look at this stamp first of all. And what have we got here? Well, we've got a very Eastern European language going on here. Two something. SRBA looks to me like Serbia. Slovenica also jumped out this morning. So I was able to work out that this was what you might call Eastern European and probably the Kingdom of Serbia. So what did I discover under AI and under the lens of Google? Okay, well it is a King Peter I stamp. So he is King Peter I, which suggests there may be a King Peter II. Or it may not at all. Well, it does actually. Was Charles I called Charles I, King Charles I, in his lifetime? Probably not. He was probably called King Charles. And when the second one came around, so King Peter I suggests I'll carry on. King Peter I of the Serbs, Croats and Slovenes. So that stamp is of that kingdom. So the kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes was a kingdom in its own right. This stamp was issued in 1921, January the 16th, and it was actually printed by the American Banknote Company, who were printing stamps in those days. This stamp ceased to be produced after, or used anyway, after 1928, October the 31st, so there seems to be end of year. I think October the 31st does spell an end, doesn't it? A bit like April the 1st, or is it April the 28th spells the end of... You know what I mean, anyway. So who was Peter I? Well, he was known as Peter the Liberator. He was born in 1844 in Belgrade, and he was the third son of Alexander, Prince of Serbia. Unfortunately, Prince of Serbia, Alexander, and his family were exiled because there were two royal bloodlines going on in that area. And the other one basically said you either leave or you leave permanently. So they were in exile, that family, for 45 years. And they were exiled to France. Now, Peter I, or Peter, was educated in France, in the French schooling system, but also in the French army. And he actually fought in the Franco-Prussian War. How about that, eh? The royal bloodline of his opponent, or his family's opponents, the Brunelleschi, there was a King Alexander. I think they like that name. Alexander was on the throne until 1903 when he was assassinated. the royal blood revival. Now, there's nothing to say that his family did any of the assassinating. I haven't actually looked up the assassination. But there was a lot of assassinations going on around that area. I think we talked about one in France, and it may have been this one. But anyway, they were looking for a new king after that, and they settled upon, they elected, so it suggests it went to the vote, Peter. And he became king of Serbia in 1903. He was considered a moderator, a modernist, a liberator. That's why he is known as Peter the Liberator. He died in 1921. So this is presumably why the stamp was issued then, to note his death. And when he died, he was known then as the King of Serbs, Croats and Slovenia. Bit of a convoluted history there. There was a Peter II actually, but as you know, communism took over, so these people also have large old families. So I asked AI, who is the current king of Serbia, that sort of area, and it turns out to be Crown Prince Alexander. They love that name. Who was born in 1941. He is the current pretender to the throne, though it seems like he would be 80 himself now, so I'm not quite sure even if he would be alive, but he would be the son of Peter II. Anyway, that's a fairly interesting potted history of the stamp and also of the character in it. So, yeah, that's quite interesting, isn't it? Maybe one day they'll go back to wanting a king. Who knows? Is it divisive? I'm not sure. Now, is this chap a king? There's a hair here. DNA hair. Okay, what have we got here? Well, again, I struggled with this last night. It was all, the councillors sort of decimated any clarity around the country of the stamp. But Google Lens finally, on the second occasion, identified it as a 5 centimos Republic Oriental Uruguay stamp. And I thought, that's interesting. What's this Oriental stuff? So I asked AI, please tell me, why is it called Oriental? And it did explain. Anyway, this explanation told me that in 1828, on the 27th of August, on the eastern bank of the river Uruguay became an independent country. So we have a big old country there, ruled by the Spanish, by the way, and there's a river running through it, and on the western side became what is known as Argentina, and on the eastern side became what is known as Uruguay. Actually, it's not called Uruguay, it's called the Republic of Eastern Uruguay. In other words, it's the eastern bank of Uruguay. You know what I mean. The country took the name from the river, but the eastern side of the river, not the western side of the river. Quite interesting. And a good way, maybe, to dream up a name for a country. What does the word Uruguay actually mean? Well, it actually means river of painted birds. So these birds were so bright and colourful that they thought they were painted, but they're actually colourful birds. The reds and the yellows and the oranges and the blues and the pinks and there's all sorts of birds and rocks and things, sand hills and rings. And they seemed to the natives and also to the Spanish to be painted. They were that, they were that colourful. Uruguay itself, I believe, is a indigenous word from the indigenous people around there who were called the or who are called the Guarani. The person on this stamp is somebody called General Jose Artigas, and he's actually the father of Uruguayan independence. He was born in 1764 in Montevideo. He joined, well, of course, it was a Spanish colony then, so he joined the Spanish army, got all learned up in things military, got all trained up and beefed up, and then he turned revolutionary. He won a significant battle and victory in 1811 against the Spanish in a battle of Las Piedras. And he sort of gained some sort of power then, but unfortunately for the last 30 years of his life, he was exiled. You know, what goes round comes round, you know, revolutionary times. So he was exiled actually until his death in 1850 in Ascension, I think it is, in Paraguay, at the age of 86. So he did live a good, long, old life. I'm sure he had a very exciting and interesting life. And subsequently, history's pages turned, don't they? Subsequently, he became a national figure in his death, or post-death, after his death, in other words. So much so that he's got his own, he's called the father of independence, and he's got his own mausoleum in Montevideo. That suggests that they carried his body, they dug up his body from Ascension and took it to Montevideo, where they built a huge mausoleum over him in the Plaza Independencia. And they love independence from anybody. As soon as you get one, you get another. That's how things are down there. Or were. Maybe still are. It's a bit of a... it's always been a bit of a tinderbox, hasn't it? A powder keg, ready to explode. Power to the people. But which people? He's got his own branch of the army named after him, and they guard his mausoleum, possibly worried in case somebody comes and pinches his body and puts somebody else's body in there. Anyway, an interesting story of his life and also of his life. Different people, royal blood, revolutionary, not quite at the same times, but almost. It was before the internet, so you can learn a lot of stuff, geographically, historically, morally, revolutionary about the world through the medium of stamps. I'm a bit whiny today. My sinuses are pretty poorly, and I'm going to have to sort those out. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and enjoy your stamp day. Again, happy Easter. He is risen, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.